I hope that people come to the Bean Path Tech Office Hours and walk away with a newfound love or passion for technology and knowing how they can use it in their everyday lives, basically to make their lives a lot easier. I am Dr. Nashlie Sephus, CEO and founder of the Bean Path. Last year we helped over 250 people, gave away over $8,000 in grants and scholarships, and we'd love to help you cultivate to sprout so you can determine your route. Hello, everybody out there. I appreciate you all for joining today. I thank you for participating in the Bean Path's very first live tech office hours. And so earlier today, we had people calling in, getting tech help from all across the globe. And we appreciate you all for being there. We had a whole host of volunteers and staff working to make sure that we answer questions about things like social media, how to create a website, people getting involved in tech startups and wanting technical guidance and mentorship. And so that's what the Bean Path is all about. The Bean Path is a nonprofit, as you know, from the videos you probably just watched. And every second Saturday, we do these tech office hours. So again, this is our very first time going live. And so thank you for being with us. We hope that you enjoy our presentation today. And I do want to talk a little bit about what's going on behind the scenes. We have a live production using Vimeo live stream, and we have a production crew. So Whitney, who's a executive assistant at the Bean Path, is behind the scenes working with live stream. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. We also have another team member who will be joining us today. His name is Ivan Walker, and he is the technologist in residence for the Bean Path. And he is also a software development engineer at Amazon. Hey, Ivan, how's it going?
Going pretty good. How about yourself?
All right, Ivan. So Ivan. Okay, yeah. So Ivan is in his home in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm at my home in Atlanta, Georgia. Whitney is at her home in Jackson, Mississippi, Senatobia, Mississippi. And we have other team members such as Teresa Kennedy, Robin Kennebrew, Angelina Irvin in Jackson, Mississippi, as well as Mariah Morris in New York. So we are spread all across. And so it's very fitting today that we have this virtual office hours for you today. And so what we'll do is we'll jump right into the presentation called Tech Life Alert, helping you stay social and distant. We also have streaming live on our website. You may be tuning in from the beanpath.org/live. If so, you'll notice there's a Q&A box right below the live stream video here. So feel free to put in your questions. What we'll do is we'll have a live Q&A next. And Whitney, you can go ahead and show the slides. And so we'll get straight to it. So yeah, we'll have the Q&A towards the end. We want to make sure that people also tuning in from other platforms, you have an opportunity to submit your questions too. And so I think, Whitney, you can put it on the first slide. But yeah, so we have several things we'll talk about today. First, we'll talk a little bit about myself, and I'll give an introduction about, who I am, why I'm here, why the Bean Path started, a little bit about my journey in technology, and then hopefully we can make a techie out of you all as well. And so we want to talk about the current times and the situation. It's a very difficult times. My grandmother herself even said that she's never experienced anything like this in her life, and she's 82. And so I think it's very fitting to just take a step back and consider how this has changed our lives, and consider how, we can stay involved and make sure that, we're staying social and we're not just being totally isolated. We're making sure that we're taking care of ourselves, like self-care. I want to also make sure that, we're privy to all of these wonderful tech tools that are allotted to us. And a little bit later in our presentation, we'll give you some takeaways with some research that we've done on our end in terms of pros and cons for each of the tech tools that we'll be using. All right, so there we go, our slides. Thank you, Whitney. So again, we want to make sure that you stay social and distant. And also, let's get started. All right, so we have going to talk about the introduction today. We're going to give you a who, what, why we're doing this, and we're going to talk about common use cases as well as creative use cases. Then, like I said, we'll compare some tools, and then we're going to actually walk you through how we're doing this tech office hours right here and our setup and everything. So we want to make sure you take that information back with you and that you're able to, apply it to the things that you want to do too. And then the second half of the presentation time, which will have plenty of time, at least 20, 25 minutes for Q&A, which will be open for anything, whether you want to ask questions about what's going on right now with COVID and these tech tools, or anything about just, technology and my tech journey, or with Ivan as well. Next slide. All right, so who am I? I am Dr. Nashlie, and I am born and raised in Jackson, Mississippi. You probably know a little bit technology, and as well as filling the gap between the communities that, for example, the ones that I grew up in and communities like that, as well as the gap between those and the communities that I'm in at work every day. So I'm an applied science manager at Amazon, at Amazon AI. So I work with artificial intelligence, and we talk about a lot of cutting edge technology. And I just noticed that every time, I was coming back to the community, that, it was a totally different conversation. So I created the Beam Path to kind of change that narrative. So I'm born and raised again in Jackson, went to Mississippi State for undergrad in computer engineering. Also went and got my PhD in computer engineering at Georgia Tech. And then I was, worked at several places, including IBM, GE, also studied abroad in France and Seoul, South Korea. And was also the CTO of a startup called PartPick, which we ended up selling to Amazon and getting acquired by Amazon, where I've been for almost the past 3.5 years now. So a lot of experience to draw from, and I'm excited about our conversation today. So next slide. So hopefully those of you who participated in our tech office hours today got all the help that you needed. We had several people on this morning just before this presentation asking for help and getting help. And I appreciate you all for testing this out with us. And we were able to help several people. And so I know that you're probably going through a lot, especially those who aren't as tech savvy. I know you're probably saying, well, a lot of this hinges on technology and us being able to use it. But what if someone doesn't have that technology or that knowledge? What if you think about kids in school, what if they don't have computers? How are they going to go to school and get their lessons right now? And so we're going to talk about a little bit of that. Now, so much hinges on the internet today. But back then, I would say maybe 20, 30 years ago, of course, that wasn't the case. In fact, we had something called dial-up that I don't know if some of you remember AOL. We actually have a video we want to show just to remind those people who didn't know about that time. We want to show you that something called dial-up, where you had to listen to the phone number dial, and if someone actually called your phone while you were trying to download something, you had to start your download all over. That was during my era of growing up, especially using things like downloading music and making CDs and burning CDs. And so that was something that I wanted to remind you of. So Whitney, you can go ahead and cue up that video. hold on. Okay, wait, I got
You've got mail.
you there. I okay. All right, Whitney, you can bring me back. All right, so for those of you who didn't live during that time, that's what we had to deal with every single time we wanted to get on the internet. So clearly, things have come a long way since then. And so, next slide, it basically we want to talk about the elderly and making sure that we're focusing on not just one age group or one group or background of people, but consider the elderly at this time. For those, for example, we want to make sure that we're staying distant and staying healthy. Of course, washing our hands, not touching our faces, keeping a safe distance when we're outside. So how do elderly connect with people during this time? And so we actually have a special video showing my grandmother. At the end of this, we'll take you grandma. And so we will show, just for those who may be a little intimidated about social media, things like GroupMe, video conferencing, and even checking out things on YouTube. And so she's very privy to that, and we have a video to encourage those about that. So the next slide actually, again, focus the children and the youth of this time. So we want to make sure people are considering, kids they're going through something. They're just as afraid sometimes as we are. This is a different time, different than anything any of us have experienced. And so make sure that you're being patient with them and understanding that, this is a time to be supportive and answering their questions and making sure that we aren't, just dismissing them. Okay. So next, I want to just hone in again why it's important to stay social and distant as opposed to social distancing. So when the term social distancing came out, it was really intending for us to be physically distant. And so making sure that we're keeping away from each other and not having, our normal interactions. I know if you like me, I miss going to get my eyebrows done and my hair done. Right now, instead of a pineapple, this is a pineapple upside down. Is what I called it. I just put something together, but whatever works. And so making sure that you're staying, taking care of yourself, you're exercising self-care. You're connecting with others, and you have a sense of community. Because again, we want to make sure you're not being isolated, and that you're understanding how to continue some of the things in your life, which we'll talk a little bit about that as well. All right. So, of course, some common use cases for technology, of course, are of course having meetings. A lot of us at work, we're probably having a lot of meetings at the time. I know I am, and I think usually at the end of the workday, I'm just ready to just bust outside the house and just go outside and go running or something, because I'm just tired of being on meetings all day, and that's fine. Again, let's just be realistic about how this makes us all feel. Other common use cases are, of course, live events. We're used to streaming things on live, like church services, sports, weddings. And again, we're probably doing even more of that now than we were usually used to. Of course, you have webinars, courses, and movies that you can watch online, and of course, social media. But I think once we talk about some creative use cases on the next slide, you'll see that people have taken all of these common use cases and turned them into things that are just remarkable, in my opinion. Everything from, I love the Sunday Soulful Sundays. I think it's with Anthony Hamilton. He's on doing a live concert every Sunday on Instagram Live. There's some things called live song battles that one that I tuned in was the one with T-Pain and Lil Jon last weekend, and I just was really engaged in that. I never would have thought, before now, that this would be a thing and that this would be something that I'd be interested in. But these times have caused us to be creative and come up with different ideas for these sort of things. Also, we have, of course, birthday parties. People have been doing DJing, which you can DJ across several of these tools that we're present you with at the end too. I am a karaoke queen. I actually really love karaoke. I think I have my karaoke mic right here. So at any given time, I might just whip out a song. You never know. But so I think it's important to have fun as well and make sure that we're relieving ourselves of some of the stress and the times that are going on. And so watching movies together is another thing. Netflix party, if you're not familiar, lets you watch a video with someone else or a movie on Netflix with someone else. Quibi was just released not too long ago, and I am really loving the I Promise series on there for LeBron James and his school. And of course, you have Hulu and cable streaming. Actually, this weekend, a lot is going on in terms of TV. I think I have, the Clark Sisters Lifetime show lined up, as well as the I think Insecure. I'm a big fan of Issa Rae. It's coming on this Sunday, on Easter Sunday. There's also Shirley Chisholm. I think a movie coming out soon next week. And so there's a lot of things to tune into. But of course, at the same time, you want to make sure you're not binge marking and binging on things and making sure that you're keeping a balance. You have game nights at home, as well as game nights across the board with other people. So same way in thinking about birthday parties for kids and having game nights with friends and family, as well as just the other day, a coworker of ours had a lunch, a birthday party. So we had a team lunch. Normally we would go to lunch for each other's birthday. And so we would, what we did is we all got onto the video conferencing tool, and then we all opened up an app that had a game, and we all could share the game with each other and play the game together. And so it was just as engaging. I mean, considering the times, I mean, we still had a good time. And so I think these things are important as well. All right. So next, I do want to show an example of the birthday party. So we have a video queued up, and Whitney, you can show that video of the child's birthday party, just to give an example. And while she's pulling that up, we'll have a couple of examples we'll show. Okay, here we go.
Social distancing makes it harder to have a traditional birthday party, but that didn't stop some local fourth graders from making sure their classmate felt the love today. Eden Stockdale is a fourth grader at Lower Bush Elementary School. Today is her 10th birthday. Happy birthday, Eden. And instead of having a Zoom call, saying happy birthday to tech problems on her. That's when she saw her classmates.
And I just makes me really happy, and then I had no clue this was gonna happen. I was like, classic mom, tech problems, but I'm surprised she didn't even actually have tech problems. I was like, no, tech problems?
Classic mom, tech problems, what? Well, Eden's mother also works at Bush Elementary School. Both say they've been missing their school family while school is shut down. Again, happy birthday, Eden.
Okay. So, yeah, as you can see, people are definitely getting creative. It's funny how she was saying she needed tech help, but again, so these are some of the things that we're working on. And so, the next slide, we discuss a few other social things that you can do. So one that I've been doing, of course, is cooking shows. Being able to see things live on things like Instagram Live, YouTube. Also, think about starting a book club if you haven't. There's books like Kindle and Audible that allow you to like share notes and share your location, like where you are in the book. There's also several exercise groups I've been working on. My strength training myself, and so I really like the Peloton app. There's a new one I saw called Fitness.fit, which is a new startup out there. I know those guys, and so congrats to you for launching. Definitely want to might want to check that out. It actually gives you a regimen that you can follow based on your goals. There's also Beachbody. Those aren't necessarily live, but they are recordings, as well as your gym, your local gym. Shout out to Effect Fitness in Atlanta, as well as Gymnetics in Atlanta. Really work out to those people normally during the week. And then, of course, how would we be if we did not recommend a way for you to learn, and especially learn how to code in different coding languages? And so definitely check out a few that we mentioned here: Udemy, Coursera, Free Code Camp. There's also Khan Academy that has several different languages in terms of like front-end languages, back-end languages, as well as A Cloud Guru. That's usually one that we use for, AWS certifications and other types of certifications to train for them before you take the test. And so those are things that, you can take a look at. And at this time, we can go to some examples. So we already showed the birthday party. And Whitney, if you can bring up our techie grandma video, and then we can talk a little bit about that. So my grandma, who lives in Jackson, Mississippi, she is very tech savvy. Okay, I asked those Mariah and them to see if they had any in the other ones, then they could send them to you. So I guess we don't. All right, next slide. All right. So yeah, hopefully, you got a little bit encouraged from that. My grandmother, she actually, she's comments on just about every one of my posts and the Bean Pass posts. She's a big supporter. She again, 82 years young, in Jackson, Mississippi, and she's also on GroupMe. She has the funniest Bitmojis and pictures. Text in terms of texting. She's also on Facebook, and she does a lot with just quilting and gardening. So she loves to watch those types of shows on YouTube and learn new things that way as well. And so again, like these are just ways that anybody to you know tune in or learn something new or get more tech savvy, no matter what age you're at. I believe if she can do it, and she'll say this herself, then anybody can do it. So thanks again for that, Grandma. And so other examples, I just want to point out, I did promise you all that we'll talk a little bit more about how we're doing this production, and hopefully, again, thank you for being patient with us as we get everything together. Just our first time doing it, but Whitney is producing live from Mississippi, and if you can, Whitney, show your screen to kind of show how we're doing this live stream. And so the name of the software we're using is Vimeo Live Stream. It's actually Vimeo Live Stream Studio. And so when you sign up for an account, it's normally $75 a month, and you have to pay annually. But we just simply wrote to them, their help desk, and said, "Hey, we're a nonprofit. We like to try this software out. Can you, let us demo it?" And they said, "Yeah, actually, right now." Through the end of through June, we're allowing nonprofits to have free premium accounts. And as you saw in her screen, that you can have up several windows. You can bring in audio and video sources from different views, from different angles, and present it all live. And this is actually the software that NCAA tournaments use for basketball. A lot of concerts, a lot of church services and worship services use that. And again, it is a little pricey, but one of the reasons we chose it for today's live stream was because, one, you don't have to sign in as a user. Like those who are viewing, you normally don't have to sign in. We actually were able to put a link on our website because some people aren't necessarily on social media, or they don't necessarily have accounts for these other things. Another benefit is that it allows us to automatically stream live from the Vimeo live stream to YouTube Live, as well as Facebook Live. And I think that that's an added bonus too, because, as a company or a business, you want to make sure that you're reaching various audiences and creating, other groups of people to help follow you more. And so I think lastly, we'll show a wrap up slide before we go to our Q&A. So Whitney, you can. All right. So this was pretty much our research, and I know, actually, you may not be able to see that last line, but it's basically FaceTime, Google Duo, and Skype. But what we did was we thought about, okay, how do people look at these various types of technology? There's the cost, there's the viewing platform, there's the call-in number, there's the audience size, and then there's live streaming versus video conferencing. And so these are questions that I normally get when we're asking, when we're looking for different things. And I think too, you want to make sure that it fits whatever use case you're doing. So all those things we mentioned earlier, you can use. A lot of people use Zoom, as you heard. Some of the security issues with Zoom have been revealed, and people are wondering, what's happening there. But we want to make sure that it's working for whatever use case you want. So as you can see, there are several platforms that allow you to do these things for free. And we like to use, we actually have a Google account where we host our email through. And so we use Google Meet for our internal, meetings. And so that usually does the trick for us, because it not only lets you get on the video conference, but it automatically sends a call-in number as well. So if that person isn't necessarily on the video or on their laptop, or on a phone where they can easily show their video, then they can also call in and still have that meeting. And so there's a lot of other tools that are popping up. I've seen Hop In being used quite a bit for a lot of like larger conferencing, because the number of limits on participants is pretty much unlimited. And I think you'll also see things like you probably heard about House Party, that only 8 people, but it does allow you to, hopefully, I think in the future they're getting ready to release some features that allow you to play games within the app. But of course you can do things like stream from your screen, stream from your audio on several of these other softwares as well. So hopefully that gives you some information that you can take and use and run with. And at this time, I think we'll so again, the bottom one is FaceTime and Google Duo. So those are just like on your phone, and they use various smaller audience sizes, but still, those do the trick as well. All right, so I think that concludes everything. I do appreciate you all for tuning in. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties. If those of you who are on our website or viewing from YouTube and you're not able, I would just try to refresh the link and just make sure, if you're not able to see it on our website, you can look up the Bean Path on YouTube and you'll see us live on YouTube. And then lastly, on Facebook Live, you can check us out there from the Bean Path page. And so hopefully everybody's able to log on. And at this time, we will bring in Ivan Walker, who is, again, as I said before, he's our technologist in residence for the Bean Path. He is also a software engineer at Amazon. We're both actually born and raised in Jackson, Mississippi, and we both live in Atlanta. And we have very strong ties back at home to Jackson. And so welcome, Ivan. Thanks again.
Hey, good to be back. So,
Okay, I want to make sure I can hear Ivan. Let me see. Okay, say it one more time, Ivan.
I said, hey, it's good to be back.
Okay, great. I hear you now. So, yeah. So, thanks for joining. I'm moderating the Q&A session, and so Ivan, definitely feel free to ask away if anybody has any questions from the audience. Again, if you have a question, if you're either on our website or typing into our comments, make sure you look right below this video. You can add your questions there in the chat box. You can also, email your questions, info@thebeanpath.org. And so we'll try to get them answered. And so we have at least, 15 minutes or so. And so Ivan, ask away.
Okay. So our first question we have is GoToMeeting listed, or what are your thoughts on that since it wasn't presented in your chart?
Good question. So GoToMeeting is another tool. I think they're actually a part of the sister company with Join.me, which we did mention in the slide in the comparison chart. But again, so I will just say this: like, there are so many tools out there that are available for use. We mentioned a few that have been top of mind for us and have been recently in the news and things like that. And historically we've used, but there are so many. And so if you just Google virtual video conferencing or video conferencing platforms, you'll get a ton of things pop up. I do want to, and it's not taking anything away from those other services. There are just so many, and we can only list so much. But I have actually used GoToMeeting myself in the past, and I have no qualms about it. I think there's also a free version you can use, and so definitely good service there.
Okay, great. And so Seems like there might be a follow-up to that about are there any specific recommendations in what you gave? How do I know what to choose?
Right. So again, it just depends on what you're trying to do. So for example, we're doing this live stream where we have the Vimeo live stream software we're using. And by the way, most of these softwares that also have a paid account, a paid version. Right now, especially during COVID, feel free to just email or send a message over to the support or the help for those services and just request and just ask and say, hey, do you have a free extended version that my company or business could use? We just want to try it out. We don't want to necessarily pay a long term thing, and you'll be surprised how many softwares will give you free access for at least a couple of months during the whole COVID and social physical distancing. So definitely check that out. I think it what software to use depends on your use case. So again, think about audience size is, how what your budget is. Think about whether you want something live conferencing versus live streaming versus video conference. Live streaming, typically you want to broadcast to just a lot of people, and you don't necessarily care to look at those people. So in terms of like webinars, in terms of concerts and things like sporting events and weddings, you're not necessarily trying to interact with that other person or the other people. And you could be doing something a little bit mixture of both, kind of like what we're doing here. I could bring you in, I can bring in other people into the live stream, and we can all broadcast to the public. Now, there's times when you want something more private, which for most of the probably the use cases, and wanting to stay connected with loved ones and family and friends, especially the elderly, you're going to want to go with a video conferencing option there. So again, it really just depends on your use case and making sure, like in that chart, for example, you're checking off what matters most to you and what you're trying to do. I just wish again I could get that hair appointment done virtually somehow, but I'll keep working on that.
Okay, and I think I'll chime in as well. Start with what you have first. So a lot of the platforms like the Apple iPhone already have FaceTime, which supports group chatting as well. Google Duo and Google Hangout, which usually come on the Android platform, and you can install it on the iOS platform as well. And so those are some great options to get you started when you're just trying to talk to family. Maybe I think each of those platforms might support up to about 10 people or so. And so, best thing is to start with what you have before you start venturing out for new tools.
I agree.
And so question here is, it seems a lot of people have been using Zoom lately, but recently there was a hack or students' classrooms bombarded. What do you say about using Zoom, or what do you say about using Zoom or not using it?
Right. So the situation with Zoom was basically that in every Zoom link, which a lot of us who I've used Zoom in the past, but a lot of people are just now hearing about Zoom for the first time within the past month or so. And so you have a lot of schools that were using it. And for those of you who don't know, a lot of government agencies and businesses use it as well. It is a video conferencing software, as we mentioned on the other slide. You can have up to 100 people. You can also, have a free version as well as a paid version. And it allows you to do several different there's additional add-ins, such as being able to do a webinar even. And so a lot of schools are using it. And so what happened was that actually before their latest updates, the link that you use for Zoom contained the meeting ID in it. And so people, if you didn't lock your Zoom when you created your invite, if you didn't lock it and say, okay, this is password only, then people could, put a random number at the end of a Zoom link and then pop into somebody's meeting if they didn't happen to have a password on it. And then there's also another setting in Zoom that allows you to, as a presenter, as the main presenter, to share your screen, and you can turn the option on or off to also have others share your screen. And so in the situations where you don't have your where only one presenter can share a screen, or the main presenter, and you don't have a password on your Zoom, someone could literally come in if they guess your meeting ID and show whatever they wanted to and take control of the screen. And so that's what you have when you have the term called Zoom bumming. And so after that happened, of course, it concerned a lot of people. But again, Zoom released a couple of updates this past week saying that the meeting ID is actually no longer in the link. And so it is a lot of issues, as well as, just in general, just make sure you put passwords on your meeting invites. Make sure you don't leave them open. Make sure you actually take the time to set up the link in the proper way that protects you from a lot of those things from happening.
Okay. And also,
oh yeah, go ahead, Ivan.
thank you for that. So, yeah, I just want to just chime in and say most platforms are susceptible to attacks. So you always have this kind of catch-22. Do you abandon the platform and find something new that has the risk of also having a security vulnerability? Possibly the same one that this company had already had. And at least, if you stay with them, they're going to fix that issue. So they might have some more, but that as they're progressing, they won't have those same issues again. And even the FaceTime had an issue recently with the group FaceTime where they had to disable it. And so that was great on Apple's part because they were very responsive in disabling FaceTime and getting a patch out to all the Apple users or iPhone users. So that's a thing that kind of exists as a potential risk for all companies. And so you want to, predominantly, I would say, just make sure you're staying vigilant and paying attention to kind of the current events and current trends as you're, processing things and staying busy during these times.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have another question here, and sorry, let me switch to it right quick. And so the question is, now that I'm home a lot, I'm finding myself having to create passwords for different social media, store shopping, and other sites. Is there an app that I can securely place all my passwords? Maybe just having one password so I wouldn't have to carry them around with me in case I need them. If so, then what would be a good thing for that?
Yeah, so and I'll let you chime in on this as well, Ivan. I have passwords and so many different services that I use. A lot of times I use Google Chrome, and it will give you the option to save your password. And I usually do because I am going off the assumption that my computer has a password on it, and most of the time my phone definitely has password on it. And so anyone who gets access to Google Chrome, I'm going off the assumption that that's not a main security risk. However, there are tools that you can use that are called password vaults, and you can Google and you'll find several. Is one of them. There's several others out there, but remember, you got to remember the password to the vault so that you can get to the other passwords. But I think just as a rule of thumb, for those who are really wanting to another, there's nothing wrong with having a book of your passwords, that you just keep in your purse or in your wallet. I think, most IT people will tell you don't do that, but at the end of the day, if that's what works best for you, the whole point is to do what works best for you, to remember your passwords. And Ivan's on that.
Yes, and a few things. There are a lot of password vaults or password managers that are already included. So Google has one. Apple, if you use a Mac or iPhone, has a keychain. If you're using other devices or want something that works across Apple or Windows or Android, then you can look into some of the standalone apps that work across platforms. like I think one is one pass or one password. I think you mentioned keepsake. I think another is LastPass. And so I would say, like you say, Google it. They're generally blogs where some people have done some kind of extensive reviews on these, so you can kind of see the pros and cons of each. In addition to using the password vault or manager, I say you want to also use its ability to generate a password for you. And these passwords are usually so long and cryptic that you can't even remember, because you have to recall that most of the time the people doing the hacking are using computer algorithms. So they can try so many combinations and or permutations that if you're going to use it, you might as well take advantage of that feature as well for it to generate the password, because I really care what the password is. So the password vaults or password managers, and take a look at which one you think matches best. I use Keychain myself at the moment since I have an iPhone and a Mac computer. But again, LastPass, one password, I think, and keepsake, and I think there are a couple of others. Okay, so I have another question here, which says, what's some advice you give to individuals who have tech startup aspirations? Also, how should they utilize this time?
Yeah, so great question. So for those of us who, I might be one of those people who I like to stay busy, and for those of us who get bored really easily, I think this is a great time to take some time, sit back and reflect about what it is that you're doing, and if that happens to be a startup that you're trying to start or a new business. As I mentioned before, there are several coding online courses that you can take. And we'll have these slides. We'll post these slides on our website as well that we went through today, so you can have all this information, to review. And for those who may have missed that section, but I think it's really important to make sure that you can seize the moment and make sure that you have set aside some time every day, because this is a perfect time to learn a new skill or watch something, a video. I think we have a lot of people who are head down working on business plans. This is a good time to learn about tech tools and understand things. I tell a lot of times people that are not necessarily technical, but they want to start a tech company. It's good to know a little bit just at a high level about the technology and the emerging technology, such as artificial intelligence, in computer vision and speech recognition and cybersecurity. And, there's front end development tools like React Native and back end tools like Python, and being able to do a simple website. I think those are just at a high level. You should educate yourself on some of those things. And of course, rely on experts like what we have at the Bean Path. Definitely sign up for a tech office hour of the next time that we do this. And so, yeah, I think, this is a good time to educate yourself about some of that. And as you're educating yourself about these things, your brain will start churning, and you'll start coming up with, okay, well, I noticed this was happening, but what if we were able to do it this way? That'd be so much better. And that's really how a lot of, really spectacular startups started. That's how the Bean Part Pick started, founded by Jewel Burks and the co-founder, Jason Crane. And so I was the CTO. And so it all started with someone, Jewel wanting to help people find parts, like replacement parts, like screws, nuts, bolts, and washers. And it just came from her sitting and working in that field for a long time. And so as you educate yourself more about what's possible, you can have a lot of startup ideas, in my opinion.
I'll also piggyback on that there are quite a few people who are seeking opportunities. And so it might be a good time to look at tech Twitter and look for opportunities and see who's willing to or has bandwidth to help you get out your idea.
All right. I think we got time for, I don't know if we have any more questions, but we might have time for one more quick one. then we'll sign off.
Yes, we actually have two more questions, so I'll go with this one, see if we can get them both in. So the question is, do you think using technologies COVID-19 may very well total be, may very well be our near future, or do you think it would be another way around using technology?
COVID-19. So I think, I mean, just as we presented today, I think COVID-19 has kind of forced us to use a lot more technology than we've ever wanted to, myself included. And so I think what you'll find is that a lot of people will develop technologies to solve a lot of the problems that we're dealing with right now, in terms of mask shortages and protective gear, protective equipment, people on the front line, those that are essential, and wanted to make sure that those people were safe, and ways to make sure that our kids are learning adequately. So you think about parents at home, taking care of kids and teaching kids, and also trying to work from home. It can get pretty hectic. So I think you'll start to see a lot of things pop up over this time, very similar to the Industrial Revolution after World War II. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think we will continue to see this shift as we start to think more critically about whether this version of capitalism that we're using is ideal, as we see people struggle, as their health insurance is attached to their employment and other things like that. So we have one more question, and I'm going to get that in. And it's, what happens to my data after hosting a live stream or any webinar? Can I download the video afterward and save it offline?
Yes. So most live stream software will allow you to do that. That's almost become a pretty common feature. And if they don't have that feature, then I would be suspicious as to why maybe that's not the best platform. But I think most of them do. Even the social media platforms like Instagram and Facebook allow you to save your video for just even for just a little while after you create it. And then I tell you a little secret. There's a way to record video directly from your screen. If you have a Mac, you can use QuickTime to do a screen capture. And you can also save the audio as well. And there's several other tools. If you Google screen capturing or video downloading tools, you can actually download videos from YouTube directly as well. There's some tools you can Google to do that. KeepVid is one of them. I don't think in some cases it's necessarily legal, but it is doable, and so definitely something to keep in mind. All right.
Okay.
So again, that's KeepVid. It's a tool that you can download videos from YouTube directly. So yeah. All right.
Okay.
Well,
I think that's all of our for today. Would you like to say anything else to wrap up for us today?
yes. So again, thank you all for tuning in, everybody in internet land. And I apologize for any technical difficulties. I'm looking forward to doing another one of these. It's like we're going to be in the same situation for a little while. So I'm happy to bring more content to the community. Feel free to email us, info@thebeanpath.org right underneath, or follow us on social media at The Bean Path on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We're also on LinkedIn. And if you want to just sign up for our newsletter, feel free to go to thebeanpath.org and let us know your feedback. Let us know what kind of questions you have and content you would like for us to present. And of course, we'll always be here for our online tech office hours as long as we have this going on. And so we can get some of those scheduled during our next event. So thank you all again. Thank you, Ivan. Thank you, team. And everybody have a good one. Bye-bye. I am Dr. Nashlie Sephus, and I am founder and CEO of The Bean Path. I'm an expert in artificial intelligence, and I noticed, having been born and raised here in Jackson, Mississippi, that I still notice a lot of gaps as far as technology amongst our communities. I love being able to come back and show people, one, what is artificial intelligence, two, show them how they're kind of already using it, whether they know it or not, and three, showing them all the benefits of it, as well as things to be concerned about. Today is one of our tech office hours that we have usually every second Saturday at a local library in Jackson, Mississippi.
So the tech office hours are completely free. We've been able to offer those coding classes where some youth come in to learn how to make beats, for instance, or older individuals who are wanting to do something different. They had the opportunity to learn how to create a website.
Today we will be learning how to use video editing software with AI taught by Dr. Nashlie Sephus. And basically this is going to take a very intimidating task such as video editing and make it a lot easier and more accessible for everyone. The Bean Path has really impacted our local community in that we can take in people who sign up for our office hours, show them how to use their technology in a way that's more efficient to them. Sometimes they feel intimidated, and we show them that it's very easy to use everything, and we're here to show them how.
I've been coming to the Bean Path since I've attended the Coding Academy when Nashlie Sephus first came around. To be honest, this is very inspiring. I look up to her a lot. So to see her out here, and especially down the street from where I live, to be at the library and teaching this type of technology and stuff, especially when I grew up around technology, is very exciting.
Dr. Nashlie Sephus has worked tirelessly to expand the reach of technology in Mississippi, and this has directly impacted the people who live here, the economy. It has encouraged others to get involved in the tech community and to otherwise seek tech careers when they may have not thought that they could do it before.
We've hosted coding classes and also have done one-on-one teaching individuals who aren't in school, who haven't been in school in a while, those specific skills.
I hope that people come to the Bean Path Tech Office Hours and walk away with a newfound love or passion for technology and knowing how they can use it in their everyday lives, basically to make their lives a lot easier. I am Dr. Nashlie Sephus, CEO and founder of the Bean Path. Last year we helped over 250 people, gave away over $8,000 in grants and scholarships, and we'd love to help you cultivate to sprout so you can determine your route. It doesn't matter what field you're in. It can be nursing. You can be a writer. You can be, into sports. But everybody pretty much needs technology in today's world in order to not be left behind, in order to really move forward. Bean Path is a nonprofit 501c3 organization where we essentially do free tech help for anyone. We're originally starting with setting up tech office hours in the local libraries. We're based here in Jackson, Mississippi, and we would like to empower people with technology. So Bean is actually a technical term used in computer programming, but the Bean Path is based off of beans starting as a seed that grows into something larger, sprouts. And so our tagline is cultivate to sprout, determine your route. We want to help people find out their direction by using technology. I've seen all the time people who have, they want to use technology, but one, they don't have anyone to show them how to use it, or two, they're kind of intimidated by it. And then we basically want to help change the entire economy here in Jackson and Mississippi as a whole. We would like to branch out further, but we think this will provide a lot of change by helping people to grow their businesses, by helping to feed and funnel in new startups into Jackson and Mississippi. We also would like people to just become more empowered to have more tech professionals in the area as well. I would like to see the Bean Path become a nonprofit organization that spans across the entire nation. I would like to see tech experts set up during these office hours in cities and states very similar to Jackson, very similar to Mississippi in general, really reaching into the trenches, targeting that non-tech person, helping them understand technology, maybe even helping them build a website, grow their business, and get to where they need to be.